The only difference between one crazy man and Dali is very simple. Dali is not crazy at all.
Dalí was a complicated character, or he liked to think of himself as such. But why was that? To answer, we'd have to dig deeper. I think this is deep enough. Anyway, what we were saying? Yeah. Dalí was born to the name Salvador, the name that was given to him like hand-me-downs from a sibling, except that sibling died at birth, and his parents didn't hide the truth from him. They took him to his brother's grave and told him, "Hey, you're the replacement," which can do what you think to a kid's psyche. He thought that he was the reincarnation of his dead brother, and for such I think he believed that he is a higher human being because he knows the truth that the populace don't. It didn't help that his parents, when they realized he had talent, shipped him off to formal art training, where he learned academic craftsmanship, classical perspective, anatomy, and realism. This was important because while surrealists were trying to make the extraordinary from imagination to rebel on traditional composition, he made it from ordinary items, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape the composition he was taught. Take a look at his most famous work, The Persistence of Memory. The composition is balanced, and the idea he's trying to interpret is how fragile memories are. They decay in your mind no matter how hard you try to preserve them. It reminds me of an experiment that was done after a traumatic event that happened in the US in 2001. No one recalls a memory the same way twice. And in the painting, that is what Dali is saying. The piece we remember from when we were growing up is dead, uprooted, and emptied. On it stays the last of our memories about it, decaying. The rest of the tree fruit that has fallen isn't facing a different fate either. They are decomposing with insects all over them. But if you leave the left side of the painting and go to the right side, you'd find an asleep or a dying figure with a clock that is also melting on its back. This creature, while looking weird, believe it or not, is how Dali actually sees himself. As you can see in other work of his, Dali didn't forget to add to his side of the painting the beach near his house when he was living in Costa Brava, a memory with everything dead that is fallen apart and dusting away. Got very dark very quickly, yeah? But to focus on technicalities, Dali had that sense of normalcy set up in a weird way because he got inspirations from dreams. He would take what he called a micronap, sit on a chair and start falling asleep with something in hand. Once that something falls and wakes him up, voila, art in his head. That's because he is entering a stage of sleep named N1, which he can take pictures from mixed ideas that are running in his head and paint it. But, you know, painting wasn't the only thing Dali was doing. Please welcome with me Elena Ivanova Diakonova, or Madame Dali, the love of his life, to an extent that he said she was the reason that he stayed sane. Dali met her at the ripe age of 25, and she picked him up from the tree. She had something for young artists, they said. But Dali won't stay young forever. More on that later.
5 years later.
Move forward 5 years and the couple gets married in a Catholic ceremony, but was their marriage anything Catholic? No. Well, see, Dali was someone who enjoyed casualism. What's casualism, you might ask, you poor summer child? It is being a cuck. Yeah, he wasn't just a 25-year-old virgin, he was a cuck. He would take her to show her body to young artists and watch them for pleasure. Did he orchestrate it? We don't know. But she liked to take away his autonomy. It is said that he bought her a castle that he can't enter without a written approval from her personally, while he knew she was with other men in there. Anyway, Dali's sexual life wasn't the weirdest thing about him. The weirdest thing is that mustache guy used to arouse him. Yeah. Fasten your belts. This is gonna be a rough one. So, what we were talking about? Yeah, Dali's political views. Here's where most of the artists you love will fail. Maybe D- at times. A lot of them fail when it comes to women too. But to focus on Dali, the guy was a straight-out fascist. And not just any kind of fascist. public Franco-praiser fascist. But hey, while we are in the car, why don't you hit that subscribe and like buttons? We're trying to reach the 1000 goal. Thank you. But now let's take a look at the Spanish Civil War. It all started with a painting that you would call a centrist painting. What I mean by that is Dali stood between the freedom fighters and the dictator, trying to tell both sides that hey, maybe both of you have a valid point, but war is bad, let's stop war because we're eating each other. That is exactly what the painting is. Two people are eating each other. That's not the same as what others did. You can take a look at Guernica. We've talked about it in the video earlier along with Picasso, but to make it short, Guernica took a way better and more dynamic stand on the war. To add insult to injury, what happened when the Civil War ended with fascists winning? Weird for someone who lived in Catalonia and admired Picasso seriously, and he didn't stop them. The Surrealist movement was at its core a communist one, opposing fascism, but the face of it liked it. That's what other Surrealist artists didn't like, and for so there was a trial to expel him from the movement. But he escaped that by saying that his art won't even be accepted in Nazi Germany, which he praised. But he still said some weird things like, I often dream of Hitler as a woman, his flesh which I imagined is whiter than white, ravished me. How could you say something like that and expect people to not think of you as an admirer of the most famous fascist leader of all time? And to top it off, he stood by saying some things like, anyone who isn't white should be reduced to slaves and freedom is shit. But in 1989, on a winter evening, the fascist gut died of a cardiac arrest at the age of 84, buried very close to his birthplace, making his displacement of almost zero. But his effects, views, and art would carry on outside of that small square. In his own eyes, and in a lot of others as well, he was a visionary, someone that is among the elites and above the regular man. But does these views stand? I truly don't know. Maybe tell me in the comments. And until next time, do you think we can't admire art if its artist is a maniac, or should we, as it's a part of the human history?